But we'll move in, as we always do, in a couple of minutes into 15 plus period of time where we'll do a bit of mindfulness meditation. And if you've been on any of my courses before, you'll know that the way I teach mindfulness is to try to combine the meditative element with the in the moment element. So all of the techniques we'll do in this little relaxation stroke meditation are things that you can pull out of that and just use in the moment in everyday life as we're going through it. And so from that, you've got the best of both worlds, really. And I always say to people, it's good with mindfulness, where whatever your preference is. Some people prefer longer, deeper meditation. Some people don't like to meditate and prefer things that are in the moment, more doing mindfulness. But as with everything, a nice rhythm of both of those together is actually good and will cultivate growth in us. So we'll do some relaxation, some meditation, but some individual techniques that sit within there as well. If you've been with me before, you'll be very, very used to the structure that we use. And although each mindfulness teacher will use slightly different structures, slightly different techniques, different lengths, different focuses, the idea is always the same. We're on a two-step journey, if you like. The first step is to slow the mind, body, and emotions down. And that's really the purest element of mindfulness. In the Buddhism called samatha. In the modern mindfulness, the psychological terminology is restful alertness. Now, you can do that with high energy, or you can do it with low energy. It's the slowing down, the creating space, the creating the capacity, which is the important part to it. Once we've took that first step, slowing down, creating space and capacity, we've got capacity, we've got some freedom, we've got some groundedness and some present-centered awareness to then navigate through what we're doing. Might be changing, might be leaving it well alone, might be enjoying it, might just be noticing how we're responding to something naturally, habitually, so that we can shine a light on it to move beyond it in the future. So I always describe mindfulness as a vehicle. In essence, what we're doing here is we're learning how to drive it, but also learning how to be an engaged passenger on it. Where that takes us, well, that's a very, very unique thing. So it's great that we can share that journeying together today, wherever you go with it. But shall we just make ourselves nice and relaxed as we prepare to move into the mindful state? So always just make sure you're happy wherever you are. If you're sitting, if you're lying, if you're standing, again, there's no prescribed way of bringing the mindful state. It can be wherever you are, right here, right now. But it is important just to make sure you're happy in your personal space. So just if you need to declutter, move something around, please do that now so it's not trying to grab your attention. And if you'd like to close your eyes as we do this, please do so. I invite you to. But if you want to keep them open, that's fine too. There'll be more demands on your attention, of course, but that's fine. And also at any point, if you feel you're nodding off or you feel that you need to ground yourself back with the here and now, opening the eyes just pulls you right back in. But we're going to do a bit of work with some other anchor points today as well, just to make sure that when the mind wanders away, we've always got something to bring it back to. And we've got an anchor point straight away as we get into this. That first step of mindfulness, noticing now. And our first anchor point can be things that are going on outside of us right here, right now. So I recommend using sound to begin with, particularly as most people will have their eyes closed. So for the next few moments, let's just notice the sounds that come and go, whatever they may be. And let's work on accepting these sounds as a background to our experience. We're just an observer here. Our job is to notice the sounds, to accept them, and to let them go as other sounds come in their place. Try to push your awareness a little bit further into sound. Can you notice any new sounds, quieter sounds? And can we notice any novel distinctions, maybe between natural sounds and human-made sounds, maybe between loud and quiet sounds? And this process we're doing here with sound is just a little microcosm of the whole mindful approach. We notice now, we accept now, and we push the awareness deeper into now, noticing in a very neutral way what's actually going on. So let's do the same thing, but just moving more into ourselves. And I like to use body temperature. So can you notice a warm part of the body right now? It's a warm day, of course. So I've noticed my arms are warm. I've got my sleeves rolled up. I can feel that sleeving on my forearms. But then if we notice this idea of a novel distinction, so you go completely the opposite way, where's the coolest part of the body right now? What does that feel like? So for me, it's my toes. I've just noticed. I can feel the texture of my slippers that I'm wearing right now. What's it for you? We're just noticing now. And in noticing now, hopefully you've found that everything just begins to slow anyway. I have this wonderful saying in mindfulness, wherever we point the mind, the body and emotions will follow. So if it's wandering around everywhere, the emotions and the bodily responses will be all over the place, if I use that phrase. But if we're focused, if we're present-centered, and we're noticing something from an observed perspective, we can be still, we can be calm, we can be quiet. And so we've got an anchor point now of sound to come back to whenever the mind wanders. We have an anchor point of body temperature too. And the next one we can make then is our natural breath rhythm. So can we just notice the way the body's taking care of breathing all by itself? Try not to interfere. Let's take the mind out of the equation and just notice how the body is breathing all by itself. Again, let's zoom in to the sensations and the features of the breath, just from a neutral perspective. Let's notice the pace of the natural breath for you right now. Let's notice the depth of it for you too. Let's notice the way the body is moving with this natural breath rhythm. Again, when you do this, you tend to notice that the body is much calmer, much more resilient, has much more capacity in any given situation than the mind thought it would. And of course, there'll be times when that's not true, but most of the time, it's the mind that interferes with the body's natural rhythms. In the concept of flow, the saying is that the mind disrupts the flow. So we're just noticing the flow of the rhythm of the natural breath. Letting it be whatever it is, letting it go wherever it goes. And of course, we can't do that every waking moment of the day, but the more we can find time in whatever situation we're in to become that observer, to let things come and go, however they are and wherever they go, the more we'll be building our capacity for being mindful and getting the benefits of mindfulness, of course, that we all want. So far we've taken that first step of mindfulness, we've slowed down, we've focused the attention, we've created some space and capacity. And in that space and capacity, we've got choice, we've got free will to the degree we have. Certainly we can choose how to be as a response to this. Today, for the next 10 minutes, we can choose to be calm and quiet and still. From that basis, let's also see if we can do the second step, which is to bring some balance and some positive change wherever we can. And we'll move from breath to body to mind today. We'll spend a bit of time seeing if we can let go of unwanted thoughts at the start of a week and create a mindset where we're confident that we've got whatever we need to do, but also that we can be open to any new experiences and situations that come up too. So whereas now we're focusing upon the natural breath, we're just letting it be. The second step of mindfulness is about bringing some intentionality to the moment. And so let's move towards a more intentional breath. So if you've been with me before, you can move into your mindful breath rhythm now, please. If you've not been with me before, or you want to use a different breath rhythm that you've used somewhere else before, you find whatever's comfortable for you. But if you're brand new to mindful breathing, there's two forms. There's one we've just done, just noticing the natural breath and sitting with it. And then there's this one, which is bringing in a more conscious, controlled, intentional breath to be the foundation of our experience going forward. Biologists who study mindfulness tell us that optimal breath to use is one that's around 4 or 5 seconds on the in-breath and 4 or 5 seconds on the out-breath. But that's a big breath. So as long as it's a deeper breath than your natural one, you just find a rhythm that's comfortable for you right here, right now. This new breath becomes another anchor point for us, but it also becomes a mantra. So a mantra is simply anything that we point the mind to so there's less room for it to wander and worry. So let's point the mind at this new breath. Let's notice its features just like we did before. Notice any sound that's come and that's changed with the new breath. Maybe notice how this breath feels for you today. Maybe it's an energizing breath. Maybe it's a relaxing breath. It can be used as a nice deep cleansing breath too. Or whatever else it is for you is fine. Let's just settle into this new rhythm we've brought with the breath. Noticing now the rise and fall of the body with it. So by using the breath, we've changed our natural rhythm of being right now into a more grounded, intentional, present state of mind. It's this state we're in now that's associated with most of the biological and psychological benefits of mindfulness. So the longer we can hold it right now, and the more we can find this rhythm out there in everyday life, the more we'll be growing those benefits that we want. But it's nice when you bring this bigger breath, this intentional breath, to also bring some intentional changes to our attitudes, our mindset. So as we're breathing this deep, deep way, let's try to let go of things we don't need right now. Thoughts that are commentating on what we're doing, analysing, judging, comparing. Let's try to let go of all of those things. For the next 5 or so minutes, let's try not to think of any agendas or schedules or to-do lists. If they pop up, let's just tell ourselves we don't need those right now. And instead we can grow those attitudes of acceptance, of compassion, of connectedness. This idea of gentle curiosity, this noticing in neutral, focused and aware of the experience of now. I just don't need to commentate on it or judge it or analyze it. An important saying at this part of the meditation is always, let's give ourselves permission to slow down and to let go. Often it's not real or external pressures and demands that cause our stress. They come from our own mind. Let's give ourselves permission to slow down and to let go. We'll finish up with a couple of quick techniques then. One is, how do we do that in the body? How do we let go of bodily tension? And then we'll do a quick work in the mind as well. How do we let go of those thoughts that keep trying to invade this space? Please remember, if the mind wanders away, you're not doing it wrong. That's just the habits of the mind. As soon as you've noticed you have wandered away, don't judge yourself. Simply bring the awareness back to one of our anchor points. Back to the breath, back to being with us again. But I always recommend before working with thoughts that you try to release any bodily tension, simply because they will grab your attention once we clear the mind. So the shortest body scan technique is simply one where we scan the lower half of the body first. So let's do that together. Wiggle the toes if you need to, tense any muscles. We're just noticing the lower half of the body. And then with your deep out breaths, if you notice anywhere that could do with a bit of relaxation, could do with releasing some tension, with each deep out breath, just try to let that go, bringing relaxation in. Just try to relax the lower half of the body as a whole as well. And we simply do exactly the same, but with the upper half of the body. Paying particular attention to the shoulders and back of the neck. These are both stores of stress and strain in humans. Let's see if we can release any tension from there. And then resting the awareness on the forehead, please. Just trying to relax the facial muscles. And I'm going to show you a shorter technique to do in the mind as well, very similar to what we've just done. So keep the mindful breath rhythm. And if you've ever done mindful walking with me before, you know that a lot of these techniques are what we call inside out. So you have an internal focus that you notice, but before the mind gets to wander away with that thought, you switch it to an external one and keep going back and forth. And you can do the same thing with your thoughts too. So quickly have a minute or two on this, and we'll see if we can bring any calm back out with us to our waking state. So from the forehead, can you move your awareness back into the mind itself, please? This is called witnessing the mind, as if we can see our thoughts in front of us. Maybe you think in images more, maybe in words. But our job here is to use the in-breath as the noticing breath, to notice whatever is on the mind right now. Whether it be nothing at all, we'll accept that. Lots of random peripheral thoughts. Maybe it's some dominant, vivid thoughts. So on any in-breath that you're doing this, just notice, okay, that's where my mind is now. That's a thought I'm having. See it, verbalize it, accept it. But then with the out-breath, switch your mind to something outside of us again. Sound, body temperature, textures you can feel. Do that with the out-breath. And then on the next in-breath, you want to have a look again, have another look. What's the mind doing? Yep, acknowledge it, accept it, and then shift the focus elsewhere. Try this for a minute or so. We'll see if we can declutter the mind a little. Now, if the one in and out breath rhythm is too quick, don't worry, just let your breaths go and just choose another in-breath to notice the thought and some more breaths to notice outside. It doesn't have to be a one breath technique. You might notice as you're noticing something outside of yourselves, you look back at the mind and there's nothing there. And that's fine, go with it. One in breath. And then focus your mind back on the external. This is one of these in the moment techniques. If you've been with me before, you know that we spend more time than today in the mind, doing the same sort of thing. But you're going a bit deeper into how do you move thoughts away. This is just an in the moment quick technique to try to let go of any thoughts that you don't need and just reconnect with the here and now. For today, let's focus back upon the breath fully, please, as we begin the process of coming out of the meditation. Noticing the features of the breath again, how it sounds, how it feels, and how it's moving the body. And then ending, as I always do, just noticing, taking 3 slightly quicker breaths, bringing the awareness back up to its normal waking state. Opening the eyes, have a stretch, a shuffle, a drink, whatever you need your end. And we'll come back together to wrap it up in a moment. So I hope you're okay wherever you are and you're coming out of the practice well. Please use the chat to let me know you're okay and ask any questions, post any comments. A little bit of an activity today, just thinking, and hopefully you can see as we're doing these techniques, there's nothing new or more sophisticated. It's using the same kind of steps, but in different contexts. Some are longer, some are shorter, some are outside, external, some are inside, some are with breath, some are with body, some are with mind. But particularly that final one we did today is a good one to do. This is something I teach more with clients who are suffering from anxiety problems. You know, that's a nice one to do as we're busy and these thoughts just kind of grab us. We don't ask for them. We don't even want them. But the thoughts just come and attach and grab hold, particularly in a situation like we're in at the moment. That's easy to happen. So again, we don't want to push them down because that feeds the monster. So this is a nice way of airing them, accepting them, acknowledging them. And it's not distraction in an ego defense way, because distraction in an ego defense way is doing something or doing something external to push the thought down. What we're doing here is we're allowing it to come, but we're shifting focus. So almost like imagine, if you want to use imagery, you've blown up a helium balloon, that's a thought, and then you've simply let it go and got on with something else. But because it's a helium balloon, it can float away rather than going back into the unconscious and growing even bigger. So something you might want to try during the week. We're trying to give you some meditative techniques, but also some things you can go away. My biggest advice always for anything you're doing out there in the moment is the mindful breath. Just bringing that breath to whatever moment we're in. Nobody else needs to know what we're doing. It's just some deep breathing. Nobody even noticed, to be honest. But it's really good for bringing that mindful state biologically, psychologically, grounding us. And then from there, we can respond in the way that we want to respond. Sarah, great to see your name on there. Hope you're okay. Harbs, thanks very much. Petronia, Richard, great. Patronism, nice to see you up there as well. As always, thank you so much. We've got scheduled in tomorrow and Wednesday, and then it's going over the Easter period for myself, so I'll be doing some other things then, but we'll come back next week after that too. But thank you so much. I'll let the chat run for another minute or two for anybody that might want to post anything. But otherwise, have a great rest of the day, and I'll hopefully see you again tomorrow or some other time in the future. Thanks very much, everybody.